A student was expelled from UNC following 4 accusations of sexual assault. How he's responding.
Plus, the North Carolina legislature has approved Medicaid expansion, what this could mean for some North Carolinians.
And a cool down is on the way, how cold it could get and how long it will last.
And an update on UNC's controversial new school of Civic Life and Leadership. All this and more next on Carolina Week.
From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us on Carolina Week. I'm Lauren Levitt.
And I'm Abigail Whittington.
An expelled Moorhead Kane scholar identified as Jacob Doe in a lawsuit says he was targeted for false sexual assault allegations. Doe claims he was expelled after a premeditated and coordinated campaign by 4 female students to wrongly accuse him, describing the investigation as deeply flawed and gender biased. Doe says the sexual interactions mentioned in the complaints were consensual. He was exonerated from 2 of the 4 complaints.
Republicans in Congress are getting involved in the fight over UNC's proposed School of Civic Life and Leadership, which was announced in January. Live outside the School of Government, where supporters would like the new school to be, is CW reporter Kelly Kendall. Kelly, what are these lawmakers saying?
The School of Civic Life and Leadership, and now lawmakers are getting involved. But I'll start with a little context. UNC is accredited by an organization called the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. Last month, its president, Belle Whelan, said her organization is going to be looking into the Board of Trustees' decision to create this new School of Civic Life and Leadership. She is also quoted to have said that UNC's accreditation could face warning status if the board does not make changes. Last Wednesday, 8 Republican lawmakers from North Carolina signed a letter to Whelan over these comments. In the letter, they state that they expect her agency to keep central in its decision-making and asked Whelan to explain her concerns over UNC's plan. UNC and Whelan's team is preparing a response for those lawmakers, and we'll keep you updated as we learn more. Outside the School of Government, I'm Kelly Kendall, Carolina.
Thanks, Kelly. Also at the School of Government, Anita Brown Graham is giving back in a big way. Brown Graham is spearheading the Carolina Across 100 program to help the state deal with the economic and educational impacts of COVID-19. The initiative will bring together university and local leaders from the state's 100 counties to help address the remaining challenges from the pandemic: educational disruptions, employment instability, and loss of small businesses among them.
The African American, and Diaspora Studies Department is developing a new graduate program. This program comes at a time when many states, including North Carolina, are banning teaching critical race theory. Department Chair Claude Clegg says that's why the program is even more important.
So one of the big goals about the program, and I think most any serious academic program, is to distribute reliable information and knowledge to counter or to dispel much of the disinformation that's out there.
Over the weekend, the UNC Arab Student Organization hosted the Chapel Hill Festival. The event featured several local Arab-owned businesses selling everything from clothes to boba. Activities included inflatable boxing and giant Jenga. All profits earned from the festival will be donated to ANERA, a nonprofit that provides humanitarian support in Palestine, Jordan, and Lebanon.
This year, thankfully we've grown a lot and we have a very passionate board who's been doing all this stuff. So we're very happy to be here.
It'll probably be a few more years, maybe even decades, before we can all travel to Mars. But the Moorhead Planetarium shows us what a trip to the planet might be like. Mars, the Ultimate Voyage, is the newest addition to the planetarium's exhibits. The new show will transport viewers to the red planet and explore humanity's challenges in getting to Mars. The project is a collaboration between NASA and the University of Minnesota's Bell Museum to help inform the public on Mars. Tickets are on sale now on the Moorhead Planetarium's website. Showings start at 3 p.m. Friday through Sunday.
With college spring break season at its peak, binge drinking and safety are on law enforcement and healthcare providers' minds. Reporter Sarah Choi tells us about the latest drinking trend among college-age people.
Blackout Rage gallons, or Borgs for short, are gallon jugs filled with water, a fifth of vodka, and a few splashes of a flavored beverage mix. Junior Case Redmond, who is 21, says he likes that he can control how much goes into his drink.
It's a lot easier to measure how much you're taking at a time. I guess it's more personal.
Redmond showed me how he makes a Borg. First, he drinks some of the water from the gallon jug. Then he adds around 10 ounces of vodka, about half of a fifth-sized bottle. Last but not least,
It's the lemonade that I'm putting in to make it all tasty and flavorful.
while still dangerous due to the amount of alcohol consumed in such a short period of time, harm reduction specialists like Erin Monroe explain that there are some safety benefits to this drinking trend.
This is a closed container, so as long as you're keeping the lid on when you're not actively consuming it, the risk of somebody putting something in here that you don't know about is significantly decreased.
Monroe also emphasizes that you don't necessarily need alcohol to make a Borg. But that wasn't the case for Redmond, who is gearing up for the UNC Duke basketball game. He followed the trend down to naming the jug with a pun featuring the word Borg, Lemon Borgio, referencing UNC basketball player Pete Nance's favorite pregame snack, the lemon Oreo. In Chapel Hill, I'm Sarah Choi, Carolina Week.
To reduce the risk of alcohol-related harms, the CDC recommends limiting intake to 2 drinks or less in a day for men or 1 drink or less in a day for women. A single drink by CDC standards can be either 12 ounces of beer, 8 ounces of malt liquor, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of a distilled spirit.
Raleigh Street will continue to be closed this week. The road was closed last Monday for emergency sewer repairs. Work on the road was split into 2 phases. Phase 1 began last week on the section of Raleigh Street between Lenore Drive and the crosswalk outside Davis Library. Phase 2 begins this week between the Davis Library crosswalk and South Road. The northbound lane of the road and eastern sidewalk will be closed, while the southbound lane and western sidewalk will remain open. Chapel Hill Transit, P2P, and Beatty Hill shuttle routes will detour to Country Club Road for the remainder of the project.
Coming up, if Borgs aren't your thing, maybe a non-alcoholic beverage? More on that next.
Plus, a recap on Monday night's State of the State address. Stay with us.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back to Carolina Week.
Last week, the state Supreme Court voted to block a judge's order to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars to fund public education. On Friday, the court voted 5-2 to reinstate a previous ruling that barred a trial judge from forcing the state to transfer funds as part of the Leandro case. After decades of trials and reports, a judge ruled in favor of a comprehensive remedial plan last year, which would increase educational funding by $6.8 billion over the next 8 years. But with the newly Republican-led Supreme Court overturning that decision, the fate of the Leandro case is again uncertain. Eric Hauk, an expert in education finance, says that it'll be up to the legislature to fund the plan.
The Leandro plan exists, the dollar amounts and the programs are listed there. It's now a matter of somebody having the political will to pass legislation that the governor will sign that will actually put this stuff into place.
Executives at North Carolina's nonprofit hospital systems have seen their pay substantially increase over the past decade, according to a new report from the North Carolina Treasurer's Office. Here's Carolina Week reporter Walter Renke with more.
From 2010 to 2021, top execs at 9 of the state's largest nonprofit hospital systems earned more than $1.75 billion. Let's break that down even further. Most nonprofit hospital system CEOs doubled their pay over 5 years, with some getting even bigger raises like Atrium Health's, whose pay increased by 473% in 6 years. In contrast, registered nurses' wages increased by 15% between 2010 and 2019. Vivian Ho, a professor at Rice University and a researcher on the report, finds it concerning because nonprofit hospitals get tax exemptions.
The notion is that they are supposed to be instead not necessarily looking to maximize profits, but to be helping the community.
In 2020 alone, nonprofit hospitals saved $1.8 billion in tax breaks, all while appearing to be billing poor patients more. A report from the NC Treasurer's Office found that in 2019, some nonprofit hospitals billed more than $149 million to patients who should have qualified for discounted or free care. Stephen Green, an expert in public policy, says that executives are rewarded for increasing revenue, not for the care they provide.
The metrics they use are financial metrics. So they are rewarded for financial metrics. They are not rewarded for, how many low-income people did you help out get care who otherwise wouldn't have?
In a statement, North Carolina Healthcare Association, a lobbying group for hospitals, stressed the size and complexity of hospital systems and said to compete for and retain executive talent, their executive compensation packages must match those of similar-sized organizations. The Treasurer's report calls for legislative action that would increase transparency around executive pay, with another solution being requiring hospitals to provide more community care. In Chapel Hill, I'm Walter Rinke, Carolina.
Last week, House and Senate leaders in the General Assembly announced an agreement to expand Medicaid. In previous negotiations, Senate Republicans pushed for the repeal of Certificate of Need regulations, which require health providers to get a permit from the state to build new facilities. This was initially opposed by the House and prevented a deal last session. However, Republican leaders came to an agreement to reduce the regulations instead of abolishing them, where permits will not be required for some facilities. Stephen Green, an expert in public policy, says that expansion is a great thing for people that will now have health insurance.
For roughly 600,000 North Carolinians, their lives will very meaningfully, materially improve.
The Senate will now modify the bill that passed the House last month and pass their version in the coming weeks. Expansion will likely take effect this summer once the budget is passed.
The U.S. Supreme Court has requested additional briefs on Moore v. Harper, a major voting rights case out of North Carolina. The case centers on whether state legislatures have the power to set the rules for federal elections without interference from state courts or other entities. The North Carolina Supreme Court's recent decision to rehear oral arguments has prompted the U.S. Supreme Court to ask for additional briefs to address new developments and whether the state court's decision deprives the Supreme Court of jurisdiction. Parties have until March 20th to submit the new briefs, while the North Carolina court has scheduled a March 14th hearing in its review.
Governor Roy Cooper gave the State of the State address Monday night. He highlighted North Carolina as a hub for business and a destination for clean energy, as the state is to host electric vehicle and EV battery manufacturing companies. Governor Cooper also called on the legislature to increase funding for education from preschool to community college. He mentioned the recent Medicaid expansion and his hopes for adequate mental health care for all North Carolinians. Cooper finished his speech by saying,
"Today, I stand before you to report that the state of our state is bright and energized with the promise of tomorrow."
Immediately after Governor Cooper's speech, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson's rebuttal aired. Robinson began by discussing his upbringing and struggles his family faced, which he credits for helping him get to where he is. He spent several minutes discussing education, touching on his support of the community college and university systems, something he and Governor Cooper agree on. Robinson also touched on critical race theory in his rebuttal, as well as citing the state's handling of COVID in schools for putting students behind. Robinson also became passionate when discussing public safety.
I am highly dismayed when I see elected officials abandon the men and women of law enforcement at the first sign of trouble. And I am furious when they follow narratives instead of following facts. The men and women who protect our communities and our state deserve respect.
Drinking alcoholic beverages might not be everyone's cup of tea, or cup of spirits, more precisely. Alcohol-free bars and menus are on the rise in the Triangle. CW reporter Kelly Kendall has the story.
It may look like I'm drinking on the job, but there's something different about this cocktail. It's alcohol-free. Alcohol-free drinks have taken the country by storm, even showing up in a Super Bowl commercial with Paul Rudd.
Not a problem, Hank. Alcohol-free.
And the Triangle is no exception. Umbrella Dry Bar, Raleigh's first alcohol-free bar, is set to open in the next few months. The bar's founder, Meg Paradise, said she's been to places where her only options were soda water or regular alcohol. That's why she wanted to mix up the bar scene.
It felt like there weren't very many options. So I said, I want to create a space where you don't have to make all those decisions. You don't have to feel that internal conflict.
Zoe Best is the founder and owner of DeKeen's Kava in Durham, which serves drinks containing kava, a South Pacific plant known for its relaxing effect. Best said she's beginning to see more young people stop by her bar, often looking for the social aspect of bars serving alcohol, minus the hangovers.
The way that our society has been built is a lot of times that social interaction in that community is built around alcohol. And a lot of people feel obligated to stay and continue to drink alcohol.
So the next time you're looking to raise your spirits without the spirits, there might be a drink for you somewhere in the triangle. In Chapel Hill, I'm Kelly Kendall, Carolina Week.
Honestly, that does look pretty fun. I think we should give it a try.
I couldn't agree more. Maybe when it gets a little warmer. Corey, you want to join?
Yeah, no, I'd love to. It's going to be a little bit cooler, but guys, it is spring. And by the way, did you guys hear about the statewide tornado drill this morning? Again, it is spring. Severe weather is going to start to ramp up here with the spring. And guys, spring means pollen. The pollen has come a little bit more hasty this year due to the unseasonably warm temperatures here. Let's take a look here at this chart. We're sitting at pretty high levels of pollen today and tomorrow. It's going to be dampened by the rain on Friday. I'll get to that in just a bit. It's going to be lower because of the rain and right back up, maybe even to the high levels of pollen, getting into that 10, almost at a 6 point here. The temperatures have caused an early boom of pollen, which is exactly what we had yesterday here. Let's take a look at this temperature map. In the mid 70s, guys, really, really nice and warm yesterday. In the 80s down to our south. However, see a big cool down we've had today here in this temperature map in the mid 50s. You can see this cool down today in this map, in today's map, in the high 50s here. Big cool down, 15 to 20 degree difference. The cool temps will make it so you'll need an extra layer today on your walk to class. Here in the low 50s here around this time here at noon, up into the upper 50s here by 3 o'clock and down around sunset here at 6 o'clock, back down to the lower 50s for your big game day today. Hopefully you get the win. And it'll remain sunny. We're also monitoring a potential rain chance on your last day before break on your Friday here. This is the map. We have a system up here to our north causing some rain and a system down to our south. We're kind of splitting in between these two. So we're not going to get a ton of rain here. This is us here on the red dots. So we're going to be seeing some moderate rainfall totals, but enough to dampen your Friday overall. And again, overall, we're going to be looking at a much cooler week than what we've been previously seeing. So today you can see in the high 50s, getting up into the low 60s here for our 5-day forecast. You can see in the low 60s here, increase in cloud cover, and our rain chance here for your Friday is going to return, dampening it a bit. We're getting down into the low 50s. May not even crack 50, guys. Certainly a possibility here. And for your Saturday, sunny, clearing out into the low to mid 50s. We'll be settling back down a seasonable chill that is expected to remain for a large chunk of the beginning and middle of March, guys. Back to you.
Thank you, Corey. I guess the cold weather and pollen are a great excuse to stay inside and watch UNC athletics.
That's right. We'll hear from Sports Extra's BJ Tillman after the break.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew a girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. So it all comes down to this. The men's basketball team very likely needs to win the ACC tournament to get an automatic bid for the big dance. It starts tonight at 7 against Boston College. That's 4 games in 4 days, which is a tall order for the Heels. But they will be depending on big man Armando Bacot. The first team all-conference selection is the key to success, and his teammates need to run the offense through him, drive and kick, or get it to the big man to do his thing. On defense, lockdown Leaky Black will have to be at his best, but he can't do it alone. The Heels are capable of big things. They shot 46% from 3 in the major win against Virginia. But they're also capable of mediocrity, scoring a paltry 57 points against Duke. It's now win or go home. The Carolina baseball team hosted the WCU Catamounts Tuesday afternoon for a midweek matchup. But as the sun was setting, the game was delayed at Boshamer Stadium. The Heels were down 2, but catcher Eric Gwentz sent the ball into left field, driving in Casey Cook and Jackson Vanderbrake. Pitcher Kyle Percival had his eye on first base, and Alberto Osuna was quick to tag WCU's Pascal Ferraris out. Osuna hit a homer down the left field line in the bottom of the third to tie the game. Vance Honeycutt hit his 5th home run of the season, bringing in Colby Wilkerson. Cook came in on WCU's wild pitch. A delay due to technical issues with the lights didn't stop the Diamond Heels from taking the win against the Catamounts 8-4, with the game ending in the 5th inning.
There's nothing we can do about it. I'm just glad that we played well enough. I didn't think we played great. But again, there's no such thing as an ugly win. I've never seen one, so we'll take it and regroup and play a really good Penn State team tomorrow.
Continuing its 11-game homestand, the number 14th ranked Diamond Heels will take on Penn State later today. The Nittany Lions have played their previous 8 games in Cary and have improved their record to 7-3. During their 5-game win streak, the Tar Heels have hit 16 home runs, with Thomas Frick, Vance Honeycutt, and Mac Horvath having 3 each. Jackson Vanderbrake hit 2 home runs in the game against Stony Brook on Sunday, getting named one of collegiate baseball's Player of the Week. The UNC softball team will face Virginia Tech later this week to open ACC play. After a promising 5-2 start to the season, the Tar Heels have sputtered in recent games, dropping 11 of their past 14. An inconsistent offense combined with a struggling pitching staff has contributed to this losing stretch. Now it is time to get things right going into conference games. The football team has begun spring practices, and anticipation is high for the upcoming season. Even though the season play is far away, the Heels have a lot to prove, and they're working hard to improve on their previous 9-5 record. With a defense that was just beginning to catch its stride in the latter games of last season, defensive coordinator Gene Chizik will look to standout players like linebacker Cedric Gray and Power Eccles to continue to lead on that side of the ball. As offensive and defensive players and coaches look forward to the new talent that recruits will bring to the team next year, the team stays focused on setting a higher standard for this upcoming season.
We've made it very clear to guys right now. I don't care how many games you've started. I don't care how many games you've played. If you're not productive in every one of these practices, you will be watching. And that is the message. And that's where we're going with it. So the standard is high. The urgency is high. And they're going to have to produce. And we as coaches are going to have to coach better, and we're going to have to.
Looks like the team is putting in a lot of work even in the offseason, and I can't wait to see what they produce in the fall. And 4 Carolina divers are on their way to the NCAA Diving Championship. So make sure to join us for the Sports Extra on Friday, where we will preview all of the highlights from another exciting week of Carolina athletics. Abigail?
Thanks, BJ. Still to come, from North Carolina to Hollywood, we'll tell you about 2 North Carolinians' recent claim to fame.
We'll be right back.
Worried about your friend, but don't know how to reach out?
You could say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR. It's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Thanks for sticking with us.
The next American Idol could be from North Carolina. Elijah McCormick and Ashley Tankard will be heading to Hollywood in the musical contest. After wowing judges with their performances, both McCormick and Tankard were awarded golden tickets. The honor lets them compete with other top contenders to become the next American Idol. Their next appearance will be this Sunday on ABC. Speaking of Sunday, that is the first day of daylight saving time. Remember to set your clock 1 hour ahead on Saturday night to observe the time change.
So all this talk about spring break and springing forward, it makes you really wonder what's happening during spring break.
Well, what are you doing for spring break, Lauren?
Actually, right after we finish today, I'm going straight home to get some much needed rest. And we wanted to know what some of our fellow Tar Heels plans are for next week.
I'll probably, catch up on some TV shows and some sleep, a little shopping, online shopping.
I'm actually have a big plan with my friends because we are going to Florida.
Me and 2 of my friends, we are doing a road trip down to Florida where we're spending the week.
So Abigail, what are you doing over spring break?
I'm going to Florida with my mom. We're going to Miami. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Carolina Week.
We hope you have a wonderful and safe spring break. We'll see you back here on the 22nd.